meeting on March 28, 2019 to order. Need approval for the agenda? Second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Any abstentions? All right, public comment. Do we have any public speakers?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Mr. Mark Gadilik-Yarotrovsky, please come to the podium.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, honorable commissioners, and fellow interested parties. I know that you all want to accomplish what is before you in the worst way, and I doubt that the glass of seawater I'm about to dump on the idea is going to deter you. But for the record, I believe this is too much and it's too late. In light of what is happening with sea level rise, I know you all have seen what I consider optimistic reports about the impacts of sea level on this community and on coastal communities worldwide. I think that those optimistic reports are based on old data. I believe there's convincing evidence that there will be cataclysmic sea level rise, possibly within my lifetime. So you are about to commit over $3.5 billion of taxpayer money to something which conceivably could be, in less than 50 years' time, an artificial reef. I would urge you to forbear and accept the fact that we are not going to stop climate change in time, and that this is just a vain effort. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other speakers?
No, sir. No other speakers have signed up to speak, and we do not have any written comments to share with the commissioners today.
Okay, I'll close that and go into the comments. It's amazing how far we've come in a 4-year period, not be short and sweet. Everybody in this room deserves a great round of applause for all your hard work, all your efforts, and everyone that has touched this project to get it to where it is today. I think all our representatives in here from the Senate and House and what work y'all have put into it, VDOT, CTV, HRTAC, TPO, PDC. It's amazing when our communities come together what we can pull off in Hampton Roads. I mean, we're a beacon for the nation in this project and what we've been able to do. And it's each one of y'all's dedication, hard work, and service is what's gotten us to where it is today. So thank each and every one of you for all your hard work. And the members that aren't here that were part of this team that may have gone on to other careers or changed where the direction they're going, for the ones that aren't here that have helped as well. I want to thank them. That'll conclude my little speech there. And we have one other thing to add, 200 lane miles in production right now in Hampton Roads. That's incredible. That's incredible. Nobody can say that. I'm proud to say that because of y'all's effort and y'all's hard work. So thank you. Moving into action and discussion, 5A.
Sure thing, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Agenda action item 5A before you is a decision brief. Is in your behind your green jacket in the folder. The HRBT Funding Agreement Advisory Committee has been meeting throughout the duration of the commencement of the HRBT project agreement. They recommended the Commission approve the I-64 Hampton Roads Bridge-Tunnel expansion project funding and administration agreement and authorize the chair to execute and deliver the definitive project and administration and funding agreement known as the PAFA. Is the acronym, on behalf of the Commission with any clarifying edits or modifications thereto, expressly including any increase to the maximum, excluding, thank you, Chair, our council's taking care of it here, expressly excluding any increase in the maximum Commission financial commitment described below, and also that the Chair and the Executive Director, upon advice of Council, determined to be necessary or appropriate. I'd like to turn the floor over to Councilor Glima. We refer to him around my office as the CAFA master. Tom has been very good to work with us and the entire team that's been with us as well to develop this project funding agreement, and as well as working with you, Commissioner Rich, and your team has been very good. Tom, I'll turn the floor over to you to kind of summarize what the resolution says and then carry forward any questions from there.
Thank you. The resolution that is before you for adoption recites that the HRTPO has recommended to HRTAC that it take action to implement the expansion project as part of the prioritized congestion relief projects for Hampton Roads. It recites the fact that the Commission has developed a funding plan and a related debt management plan that would fund the project, showing capacity of up to $3.562 billion. It reflects the fact that the VDOT has selected a design builder to construct the project at a fixed price contract of $3.3 billion. And it further reflects what the HRTAC max financial commitment under the contract will be, as Kevin just highlighted. The resolutions authorize the chair to enter into the agreement on behalf of the Commission. They further authorize the chair and the executive director to administer certain of the delegated functions under the contract and to also support the delivery of the Commission's obligations.
Thank you, Tom. I'm going to turn the floor over to Senator Cockrell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, this is an historic day for all of us here. We have been waiting for this for a long, long time. And everyone around this table has worked tirelessly. Those who were here during this process have worked tirelessly, even going back to former Delegate Glenn Oder. He says, got to be the HRBT, got to be the HRBT. And we were talking about all kinds of things. So this really is a banner day. I do have a request of you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
There are two people here that really are instrumental. They were the genesis of making this funding available for this project and for all the projects that we're doing, because of the tax increases that we approved in the General Assembly. And I'll tell you this, the two gentlemen I'm going to talk about are the only two people in the world that ever got me to vote for a tax increase. Not anybody. So that in itself is worthy of a resolution by itself. But that being said, this being such a wonderful day and such a landmark or watermark day, whatever you want to call it, my request to you, Mr. Chairman, is that Senator Frank Wagner, who is retiring and has been the finance chair of this organization for quite some time, I would ask you to allow him to make the motion to adopt the resolution. And then I would ask you to allow Delegate Chris Jones to second that resolution. The reason being is these two really worked as the architects of this funding stream that is the envy of every place else in the Commonwealth, except for West Virginia, which has the same thing. So that being said, Mr. Chairman, I would ask that you allow that to happen. And I personally am very proud and honored to be here today to cast a vote to adopt this resolution.
Thank you. Senator Wagner, would you like to read the motion?
Mr. Chairman, I think before we vote, there was an item that was brought last week in our funding agreement dealing with HOB about getting some attention in the budget, and I was given direction to work on that item. And I think Kevin would like to brief the full body so they would know what we accomplished and what we will put on some of the next Wednesday.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. And thank you, Delegate James, for bringing that to the floor for me to comment on. As indicated by the delegate, there was some challenges that came before us as we were negotiating the project funding agreement and in dealing with tolling, which Mr. Shepard, chair of the HRTPO, you all had some very extensive discussions at the TPO level as well about concerns over HOB. And the challenge was that if a project in the current law is procured and constructed under a P3, under the design build with what we're doing now with HRBT, is that if it was a P3 to begin with that became a hot facility later, that it would be HOV3. Now, as you know, in the region down here, it's HOV2. I want to thank Delegate Jones for getting on top of that immediately to help us understand at the Richmond level what the concern was, and understand that what I have read in the governor's proposed changes and amendments to the budget that's coming down for you all in veto session, or some may call it reconvening session. There is some deliberate language in the Appropriations Act which addresses for projects of $3 billion or greater in value that the HOV3 is waived at the HOV2. So there will be preservation for the region to still continue to move forward with HRBT, but also leaving the door open that if 3 comes about and it's the decision of the region working with the Commonwealth that could occur. But right now they've protected the HRB2 under the current terms of where they are. So thank you all very much, the state legislature, thank you for your vote in the future to make sure that that amendment coming down from the governor in the veto reconvening session is carried forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, and let me just say this, and first of all, I wasn't aware John was going to do that, and Senator Cosgrove, and I certainly do appreciate it. And I have reason to believe this may be my last HRTAC meeting, so if I could just make a few comments from those of us that were here in day one, when then we were first electing who was going to be chairman and vice chairman. Those of us that were here are laughing already. I remember it went 10, 12 rounds of votes before Mayor Krasnoff was elected chairman, and then I must have left the room because before I knew it, I was elected vice chairman. And Alan's style of management, Mayor Krasnoff's style of management is, you know, can you take care of all this, Frank? And I was happy to do it. And one of the things I learned in business a long time ago is that you can look really, really good if you hire the right people working for you to make you look good. And I want to thank Kevin Page, our executive director. Probably one of the wisest decisions I've ever had the opportunity to make is to recommend before this board that Kevin be hired. I think he's done a wonderful job and just an outstanding job of putting the organization together. You know, just to see where it's come from now to where we are today with this agreement, having every project funded, underway, under construction, under contract, that the TPO assigned us 5, 6, 7 years ago at our inception. You will get these done, and to see it to this point now, where every one of those contracts is awarded and construction's beginning on everything, and when we get this agreement into place now in the HRBT is a wonderful, wonderful asset. I will point out that this will be my last meeting. I take a little bit of privilege to talk a little bit longer. We can't stop the ball from going. This doesn't mean that all our transportation solutions far from it. For those that ever have the opportunity to travel through the Monitor Merrimack, it is becoming as congested now as the Hampton Roads Bridge-Tunnel. Our work is really just starting. We need to start looking at the long-range forecast and start the planning process. We know how long it took us from inception to try to get the permits and everything necessary to move forward with these projects. And I have sincere hope that if I'm not a part of this organization, and I suspect I'm not going to be in a relatively short period of time, that that we do keep that in mind and move forward. I think we owe it to the citizens of Hampton Roads to understand and not find ourselves in a position where we're already backed up, but anticipating and planning and moving forward with that. And it's essential to the growth of this economy and the diversification of our economy in Hampton Roads that we continue to do that. It's a core function of government. Private sector can't provide it for us, like to sometimes, but I think with experiences of Elizabeth River Crossing, you know, it's a government function, it's a government responsibility, and I think we need to follow through. With that, Mr. Chairman, I would make the recommendation that we adopt the resolution.
And I would second.
Okay. And Tom, would you read the resolution? Just so we have it for the record.
So the motion is to adopt Resolution 2019-01, I-64 Hampton Roads Bridge-Tunnel expansion project, approval of and authorization to enter into project agreement for funding and administration.
Okay, I have a first and I have a second. We're going to do a roll call. Any discussion before we go on roll call? All right, roll call.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Please answer your vote when your name is called. Mr. West?
Yes.
Mr. Rabel?
Yes.
Mr. Tuck?
Yes.
Mr. Acree?
Yes.
Mr. Hibble?
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins?
Yes.
Mr. Alexander?
Yes.
Mr. Green?
Aye.
Mr. Rowe?
Yes.
Mr. Porter?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Dyer?
Yes.
Mr. Pons?
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd?
Yes.
Mr. Cosgrove?
Big fat yeah.
Mr. Wagner, you got it started.
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Stolly?
Yes.
Mr. Yancey?
Yes.
Looks like yes, have it. Congratulations. Now that is definitely an example of teamwork right there. Unbelievable. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, I guess the last several months had an opportunity to work with Senator Wallner, Delegate Jones, and Mayor Alexander as part of this HRBT Funding Advisory Commission, and I felt a lot like Peter at the Mountain of Transfiguration. I was just happy to be there because some real heavyweights. But I also want to acknowledge, and the resolution says, whereas on October 20th, I want to give credit to Delegate David Yancey. I think he was instrumental in pulling folks together to make the funding of the HRBT expansion a priority. I won't exactly call it show diplomacy, but there were a lot of phone calls to different mayors to try and bring them aboard. And if I go on my past knowledge, I think that the third crossing had the kind of priority as far as ranking, even though a lot of folks felt that it should have been an expansion of HRBT. And so, whereas I do respect contributions of Senator Wagner and Delegate Jones, I do want to acknowledge Delegate Yancey, because at least for me personally, he's instrumental in making this a priority.
They just spent a lot of time behind the scenes choreographing, calling, talking, and we talked many a time as we were trying to figure out, try to get this project approved and over the line to get it started. So thank you, Nancy. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Anyone else? All right, we'll move it to B.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Action item 5B is before you. This is a standard protocol which is becoming commonplace for us as the commission votes in for the engagement with VDOT for capital improvement projects. The resolution you have before you here today is a resolution to preserve the flexibility and to reimburse expenditures on the I-64 Hampton Roads Bridge-Tunnel expansion project with proceeds of a bond issue. If you want to get a first and a second to do the discussion, sir, if you'd like me to read the motion, I'll tell it to you. Okay, thank you, sir. The motion before the commission today is to adopt resolution 2019-02, the resolution of official intent for allocation of bond proceeds to reimburse HRTAC expenditures on the I-64 Hampton Roads Bridge-Tunnel expansion project. Mr. Chairman, the floor is yours.
Do we hear a motion? So moved. Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Any abstentions? That carries. All right, next, number 6 is information for you. June 20th, 2019 at 12:30 in this building will be our next meeting. And other than that, do everybody for adjournment? Second? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Have a great day. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it.